Well, hello. In fact, let me turn this down. All right. So today I wanted to kind of go over some of the, the stuff here on how to handle some advanced DI. I'm going to take those monitor headphones off because I think the sound is going nuts there. In any case, so what we're going to do, I'm going to actually kind of back this down. I just created a brand new project here. And so we're going to look at a few things with DI. So Brian on his stream the other day kind of brought up a very valid issue on Prism application really being the source of truth. Now, he was, of course, talking about WPF, and WPF is a lot simpler in certain regards when it comes to how all of this comes together, because we're not trying to abstract things out in a common layer. And hi, Danny, you're watching without audio, huh? Well, that should be interesting. I'll just make puppets or something. I don't know. We'll do some funny stuff. Can you comes up to winning a ticket? Yeah, I will certainly try to do that. So in any case, what we're going to do here is we're going to look at kind of what the issue becomes very quickly. I always kind of tease, well, half tease, it is somewhat serious. I'm a lazy programmer. I don't want to have to write more code than I absolutely positively have to. And so I'm going to install Shiny here because I love Allan's Shiny library. It really is amazing. If you haven't used it, I really recommend you guys check it out. It is very, very helpful, and it will eliminate a lot of complex and custom code that you have to write for each platform. So definitely check it out. So I'm going to go ahead and install that here and start wiring some stuff up. All right, and I love how I see not found, not found, not found. Okay, installing. The output does really crack me up. Okay. Hey, Hussein. Good to see you, buddy. All right. Sorry, Hussein, I had to give you a hard time there. All right, so now that that is installed, oh, that's funny. I think Allan is actually busy today, but I love that he has a new README in here with a to-do. We should probably update that. All right, so one of the things here, if my computer will start responding again. So with Shiny, I just installed Shiny locations. So let's kind of set up one of the delegates. All right. And any day now, my computer will respond. It will pretend I have an i9 processor with 32 gigs of RAM, which I do, and it doesn't want to act like it, but whatever. Go figure. Why is it my 3-year-old MacBook Air works better than, my brand new Dell? So depressing. Okay. I have no idea what this thing is doing. Oh, hey, look at that. We just got a class 1. Yeah, Brian, I tend to agree with you. Visual Studio 2019, I think there is a lot wrong with it. Yeah. So I'm going to delegate. Oh, for crying out loud. I think it's still like installing something in the background, and that's what's going on. Yeah, Hussein, it definitely, the answer is Dell, right? So I'm going to create a iGPS delegate from Shiny. Oh my God, this is painful. Golly. You know, maybe I should have rebooted my computer before starting the stream. What do you think? Wow, gathering suggestions. Gathering. Oh my. Oh Christ. Here. Never mind. Who needs IntelliSense when I just know it? Okay. So we have our iGPS delegate. Now let's see if it works any better. I don't know. Hopefully. I just want to implement this. Okay. So now I have this on reading that we get from the iGPS delegate from Shiny. And here's where it starts to get really interesting, right? So if I have a service like, let's say I wanted to use Prism's iEvent aggregator. Well, that's all perfectly supported. So I can inject it into my GPS delegate. Okay, I'm going to stop trying to use IntelliSense and just type, I guess. It'll be faster. So we've got that. And now I can actually use this, right? I would have to put it into the constructor. I guess it would help if I brought in Prism, huh? Which I'll do in a minute. So if I wanted to use this inside of my GPS delegate, now I get a chicken or egg issue. And the reason I get a chicken or egg issue is, chicken or egg, yeah. I need more sleep, I really do. So the issue that I end up with is in a lot of these processes, I cannot just simply use a main activity. And this is where things start to break, right? So now I need to create an Android application. And so we'll say we'll create a new application. Oh, for crying out loud. And I'm going to have to override on create. Okay. And then I've got the Shiny, Shiny, where is it? Come on. Android Shiny host. And then I need to initialize it. And for that, I have to pass in this application that we're creating, so that way it can register the lifecycle hooks. But then there's actually one more thing that I'm going to need to do, and that's, if we look, if I get any IntelliSense here, you'll see that Shiny has an iStartup. And so the iStartup is actually based on the Microsoft dependency injection kind of like ASP.NET stuff. And so I believe, I can't remember where it is. I think actually it might be on his blog. So let me go to James Montemagno's blog. No, Montemag, thank you. So if we look right here, so James just put this out, I think it was yesterday, about this add ASP.NET Core's dependency injection with Xamarin apps. Now, there's a lot I don't necessarily like about this with the whole host builder pattern that he's using. But certainly I think it is a valid case here where you're using iService collection. And that's exactly what Shiny is doing as well. And so what I'm going to do to make all of this a lot simpler, because I don't want to complicate things, is I am going to come in here and I'm going to now add Prism Dry IOC forms. Yeah, so we'll look at this, but you'll notice that there's a little bit of an issue. If we use the actual Prism Dry IOC.forms, we run into there are a couple issues. I'll get into that in a second, I guess, here. So install. I'm going to install the extended package, and you'll see how we just make it really simple. We got all these wonderful packages to bring in here. Accept. Okay, and then we should see this kind of, go green in a minute, or, so what we'll end up doing, and I guess I should, let me add it in here. This is terrible, by the way. I really hate putting like multiple classes in a single file, but I'm lazy and it's a Twitch stream, so I don't really care at the moment. So what we're gonna do, my computer ever starts working, good Lord. Come on. Hi, Rock Lane. Let's see. Come on. So we're going to create a new startup class. I typed something. Hello. We're doing Shiny. So Dan, I think it was actually you that had asked the other day about how do you do stuff, before Prism is kind of initialized. And so Shiny is a really perfect use case for this. So I'm going to show here with Shiny kind of how we handle this exact sort of scenario. I believe everything auto saves, not start up. Thank you. And so we're going to add a Prism startup. Actually, I need to bring in one more NuGet here. Almost forgot. So since we're using Prism and Shiny, and I don't like having to repeat myself, or Shiny.Prism, I can't remember. What did I call it? I think it was Shiny.Prism, yeah. So I'm going to install the Shiny.Prism package as well here. So Shiny.Prism is a really, really small package. It has one class, that is it. And the one class is called Prism Startup. And so we'll bring this in. And one of the things that I want to point out is it actually does not, rely in any shape, way, or form on any dependency injection container. So, you can keep this in a project that, doesn't have a strict reference to something. Yes, exactly. So everything that I'm talking about, Danny, will apply to like what you're talking about. So like if you've woken up from the background, I'm going to use GPS for this example rather than a push notification. But just to kind of show you that, hey, I'm in the background. Maybe I'm kind of doing something that, I don't have the UI awake for. So we may not, for instance, have Xamarin Forms initialized because of that. So there are some things that we can do, and Shiny has to be architected in a way that accommodates that sort of scenario, which is why it's really perfect to demo for this issue. And so I'm going to go ahead and implement this abstract class. And you'll notice now, just like with what James was doing, where we had the iService collection to register some services, we have the same thing here with Shiny. Come on. Okay. So we have our services. And thanks for the follow, Rocklane. So we're going to use GPS. And I'm going to register the delegate. And then I am going to do action. Oh, this is new. Allan has been changing things around a little bit on me because I keep messing with him. So let's see here. No, I'm not going to mess with that right there. We'll start it up later. So basically what I'm going to do here is we'll pretend for right now that I'm actually using the iEvent aggregator. but I just want to kind of point out, so we're you know, and actually I guess let me wire it up so it at least does force the injection. GPS delegate. EA is okay. So we have that all wired up. We don't really care anything about the GPS. This is all just pure demo. But we do want to at least inject iEvent aggregator, right? So that's coming from Prism. Typically, this would be an issue for us. And this is now being registered. Then what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to go back over here. Now I can say my new, services, app startup. Okay, so this is almost everything that we need. Now there's one more thing that I need to do, because you noticed that I mentioned before that this Prism startup does not actually reference a specific container. And so I need to somehow pass that in. So there's actually an extension method on here. Or there is a method, I should say, on here that allows me to come in here and say with container. So with the Prism container extensions, container extensions, I can talk and type really. There is a method here that I can pass in my my container, and so the whole way that I have this architected is you have a singleton. And so we're still following the singleton pattern. The difference is that we no longer are relying on the Prism application in this model. We're relying on the container extension to be the source of truth. This is where our actual container lives, and we're only going to pass it to the things that absolutely need it. It would be bad practice to inject our container into like everything under the sun. We don't want to do that. But there are certain things that have to get it at certain times. And so an example of that, of course, is this right here. So one of the things that you're going to find, well, I mean, first of all, this will now all work, right? So I've passed in the Prism container extension, and once I guess I did not update this yet, did I? No, I didn't. Okay, so let me change this, I guess, real quick. And so we'll add, correct. So Danny, basically, if we look here, so this is an Android application. So when your Android app actually starts up, this is the first thing that gets created. This is the first thing that fires, right? So, I mean, this particular project only has the main activity. There is no like startup activity that shows you a splash screen or anything like that. So you'll see like the white screen on this particular project, but there has been no activity created at this point. When we're first creating our application, but we're wiring up Shiny. So now things are actually getting registered in here, so we can do some stuff. Now, I guess one of the well, I'll come back to like how you can handle this so that way you get all of the Prism stuff as well, or like other services that you may need that you might need to register outside of the you know, the service container or whatever. Oh yes, thank you, Hussein. I always forget to do that. Yeah, so we have our Android application right here. Like I was saying, we've passed in the Android Shiny host or into the init here, the actual application, and our startup with our container. And you'll notice that this is this is following a singleton pattern. And so, you know, we're going to be able to reuse that same exact container inside of our Prism application. So let me go ahead and change this real quick, and I'm going to bring this up to be a Prism application. Okay, and Prism, okay. I'm not going to wait for the IntelliSense on that. Whoops. Protected, void, or no, override. Oh, because I hasn't figured it out yet. Okay. Register types, iContainer, registry. So we got Prism IOC here. Let me just try to compile this real quick so it figures out all the IntelliSense. Okay. And being that this is a demo app, I don't really care about that. I'm not trying to show off Prism navigation or anything at the moment. It's more on just how to wire this stuff up, right? Okay, so with, let me show, okay, we should have IntelliSense here, so I think this should work now, hopefully. So we'll see here, you have a bunch of methods that we can override. And one of them here is this create container extension. Now, because I brought in the extended version of Prism Dry IOC, I don't have to do anything else. I'm done. But let's just say that you wanted to use the container extension that I have without, that's for Dry IOC, that has no reference to Prism forms or anything like that. You could do that, and you would just need to override this create container extension, and you would, just like you did before, where it's Prism container extension .current. Okay, so now you could pass that back, if you wanted to reference it more, specific to your application without everything else that I've got going on. But because this is, again, the extended version of Prism Dry IOC, we don't actually have to do that. It's already done for us. But that's essentially what we're doing. And to give you just another idea of why, so I just said here, Prism.Container.Extension.Current. But what I could do is I could also, I could not type today. I could also come in here and I could say I want to create the extension. And you'll notice there are a couple of overloads in here. So the extended gives you a few extra goodies, right? So one of the goodies that you get is easier integration here with something like Shiny. And a little bit more configurability. So, but I do just want to show you can create the container extension as well, just like with the underlying Prism. You have the ability to pass in a container that you've created yourself, or rules that you want for Dry IOC, for example, and that will initialize the current. By default, it just uses its default implementation. But I guess, here, let me do this real quick. Danny, see, you're distracting me from what I was going to show, but that's okay. So if we look at the current and now look at some of the methods that we have, you'll notice that there are a few extra, I guess we got to go into the, no, not the instance. There are a few extra goodies here. I guess I got to bring in the namespace, right? Prism IOC. Okay. Now we'll get all the extensions on here. So you see like is registered, register. These are things that you're already used to seeing. Like you get the register dialog, register for navigation, and all that. But you have this new thing like register delegate, right? So you can register a delegate method, which allows you to pass in some sort of factory, right? So, and there are a couple of different versions of that. For example, you might have something like public static static. I'm just going to say object for right now, just because I don't want to create a whole bunch of sample code. Create foo. Okay, and so now I might like do something like hello. Okay, world. Yeah, there we go. So I could say here I want to register for a page, which I mean this would be really weird. I want to use create foo, and so now I can pass this method in for whatever my type is. I guess we'll say ifoo here. So I have some sort of factory method that I need to implement, and I can say anytime you want ifoo, use this method to create it. But I could also do something like say public static, and again I'll do this create foo thing. But let's say I need to resolve some other stuff, right? So I might want to do something like container.resolve ibar, right? And then I might want to do something with, so we'll say bar equals, right? Okay. And then I might want to say, bar dot, foo, I don't know. You might do something to bar and then pass it in ifoo or something. I don't know. But you have a lot of different options that you can do with that. There's also some stuff in here where you might say where are they? So you have register many is another one. So this register many, basically what it is let's say that you have a public class foo that implements ifoo and ibar and ifoobar. So you could now, with the register many, say, well, I guess I'll just say foo. Okay, so I can say that I want to register foo with the register many, and now it's going to pick up all of these. And so anytime in my application I want ifoo, ibar, or ifoobar, it'll pull in this foo implementation. And if I wanted to make it a singleton, I can do that. And so the benefit here, right, is now I have 3 different services that I might need to resolve somewhere within my application. But every single time there's a single instance of foo that gets passed back for any one of those, which can really be helpful as well. And then one of the other things, and this is kind of where we were going anyway, so this works, is, where'd I go? Register singleton from delegate. You also get this register required types. So if I call this register required types, this actually, like, you can do this. There are very valid use cases for doing this. In fact, what you were asking about, Danny, is very, very relevant to this. So you may actually need to call this register required types. And when you do that, you're going to have to, how should I explain it? you're gonna have to modify your application a little bit, right? So if you are doing that, you are gonna want to come in here and say register. Well, unless I might need to make a change. I think I do. Yeah, I need to actually change this to support the scenario. I thought I made the change already. In any case, you'll have to override the register types in here in order to prevent Prism application from registering like iEvent Aggregator, iNavigation Service. So what that method does is it takes all of the services that Prism itself is going to register and then makes it available to your container. So that way, if you need them before Xamarin Forms is initialized, before Prism has initialized, you can do that kind of thing. What else here? Yeah. So let's see here. Nope. I don't want to talk to myself. Here, Danny. Okay. Listening. Okay. Trying to like type and talk at the same time. It's always fun. So, all right. Well, I will take a moment then and try to let that sink in. So here is what I want to do. Now, first of all, for all of you who are coming to Xamarin, the Xamarin Developer Summit, I really want to thank you for coming. For those of you who haven't had a chance to buy a ticket yet and would like to come, what I'm going to do is give away 2 free tickets. I'm not going to do it the way that Brian has done it. I'm not going to do it the way that David has done it. I am going to do this one a little bit differently. So, one of the benefits to the way that I am doing this is if you have a ticket already and you have a friend who would like to come, they have an opportunity to do this. So it's going to go to the first 2 people who email me, but you have to email me something specific, okay? So you have to email your reservation number for the hotel. So go to the Xamarin Developer website right now and go make a reservation for the hotel room and send me your reservation number. The first 2 people to email hello@Xamarin Developer Summit or my personal dsiegel@avantepoint.com. The first 2 people who send me those emails will get a free ticket to come to the Xamarin Developer Summit. So I hope that made sense. I hope I wasn't talking too fast. So I'll run through that one more time just in case. So go to the Xamarin Developer Summit website, make your reservation for the hotel, okay? After you've booked your hotel room, send me your reservation number. If you're not on my list that I have right now from the hotel from this morning, and you've just booked your hotel, we're going to send the first 2 people a free ticket to come to the conference. So I know that's a little bit out of order. Usually you buy your ticket for the conference and then you book the hotel. So we're going to say do this in reverse, right? Get the hotel room, and the first 2 people to send me their reservation number are going to get tickets to come to the conference for free. And I will also invite them to... Who's saying you don't count? I gave you a free ticket. Yeah, so do that, and we'll give you a free ticket. I'm also going to invite those 2 people to come to the speaker dinner on Wednesday night. So you'll get to come and hang out, have some free food, an open bar. I got talked into that somehow. I'm not sure. But yeah, so we'll invite you, have a ton of fun, get to meet some of the speakers and socialize and everything. So anyway, good luck to all of you. Hussein, it is for speakers, and we have a few people that are invited. The early birds are invited to come to that as well. So we have some other activities that are more focused on speakers. Don't overthink it. Hey, it's just you can think of yourself as on the VIP list. If you get the invite to the speaker dinner. So anyway, hopefully you guys have fun. I look forward to seeing your emails on that. Anyway, so that said, let me get kind of back to this. And if you guys have more questions, if you have questions on Prism, hello at xamarindevelopersummit.com. Okay, there we go. So I just put it in chat for you there, Danny. And I should say, if you have your ticket, before I forget, if you have your ticket to come to the conference and you have not booked your hotel room yet, make sure you do that right away, especially if you want Friday night, because I just was told this morning by the hotel that they're running out of rooms for Friday night. So you're going to want to make sure you do that. They're going to try to get us a few extra rooms. So if you are trying to book for Friday night, if you know somebody who needs to book for Friday night and they have trouble, let us know and we'll reach out to the hotel to see if we can get a couple extra rooms. So, but they are reaching, they're probably going to sell out completely on Friday night. So that is a little bit of an issue, to be, perfectly honest. So make sure you get that right away if you haven't already. We know Danny has, and cool. Danny, I see, the watch tells me all right. So I see that email came in. Thank you, Danny. Alrighty here. Anyway, where were we? Looking at the Android Shiny host. Yes, the rates do go crazy after Friday. Thank you, Hussein, for sidetracking me again. So when I was back, I can't remember if it was the first time I came out and met with Hussein at the hotel, or the second time I was out there. But I started looking into what they typically charge, and some of their nightly rates are really expensive, like $400 or $500 a night. It's crazy. But I know Hussein will probably tell you from staying there himself, it's a really nice hotel. Is that Kiazdev? Thank you for the follow. So anyway, let's try to get back to this here. So we've initialized Shiny. We have our GPS delegate here that we've set up. Yeah, it is beautiful. It definitely is. So we have our GPS delegate. We're kind of setting all of this up. Now, what I'm going to do here that might be a little bit different from what you've seen previously is I am going to steal from Andre something that mainly because I can't think of a better name myself. So I'm just going to create a class called Service Stack. And so I am going to say I have, I guess we'll make it static, right? So we've got our or does it need to be? No. Public I extension or container extension. So we have our instance there. And so here we're going to say we want our Prism container extension. And we want our current. So this is where things start to change around a little bit, right? So let's say I really need to focus on more services besides iEvent Aggregator, right? So I showed you kind of how we would look at getting the like all of the Prism services, like iEvent Aggregator registered. But you probably have more than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm creating this iService stack, and I want to do something like, basically I'm going to replicate what we see in Prism itself, right? So I have register types, and I have iContainer registry. And okay, so we have that. And so now I can come in here and I can do things like, so I say container registry, and I'm going to register the required types here. Oops, where is it? There we go. So now I've registered that, and now I might have, container registry. Thank you. .register, and maybe I say I want, ifoo as foo. Okay. So now I have these other registrations that I'm setting up in here, right? And so I can say something like, let's see, we want, so we have public class, yeah, so we want public service stack, okay, and then we'll call the register types. We'll pass in the instance. Okay, so now we have that. And so you see how I've now added this little bit, of abstraction, right? And so what I can now do is I can come in here, and instead of referencing my container extension here, so now I can say I want a new service stack, and I want to pass in the instance. And so what we've now done is I've now said, for this specific application, I need this app startup for Shiny. I'm going to use this service stack that I've created for my application, and I'm going to give it the instance of the container that I initialized, that that I've done everything with, and everything is now going to be registered. So when we come in here, if I needed to also resolve ifoo, which I suppose I could create an ifoo, that will now be available, right? So let me see here. We'll create a public interface ifoo. Class foo ifoo. Okay. So what did I do with the? I guess I need to bring that in here. Okay. Okay. So now we have our register required types. I've got the ifoo, and I'm using the GPS. And then let's see here, what do we want to do after that? So this is where I'm trying to remember. I have too many things I try to remember. Cannot remember. Yeah, I don't think I really gave myself much on here. So we have create container extension. Yeah, I locked that down pretty well. I may want to open that up. So something like the GPS, I think we need to kind of find a way to come back. Okay, what's it say from Danny here? think I'm slowly understanding, so bear with me because I'm not as seasoned as you guys. So you're telling a special thing of what services singletons you need, and it'll initiate them for the sole purpose of this lightweight startup initialization. Yeah, so we want to make sure, the goal is not to register everything, right? Now, I can, there's nothing stopping me from, because this is the container registry, right? So there's nothing stopping me from registering my pages right here. I think you'd be foolish to do it. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that any services that we absolutely require, whether the UI is lit up or not, that everything gets initialized here. So again, in our Android application, when we come in here, so we've got this Shiny host init. We don't have any UI at this point. The application is created, and this may be called because our application is running in the background. Like, it's not an active application in any shape, way, or form. And so we have no activity. We have nothing really presenting to the user. And but this still would get called. And so Shiny will be able to initialize everything. Our DI will have all of its services registered for us. And we can do whatever we need to do. So again, I'm using the example of the GPS delegate, but you could do this with literally anything that you're operating in the background. So that might be a background push. Push is definitely a really great example of this, where you probably have some sort of authentication that you're doing with your backend. And so you have some services and things that you need to figure out how to communicate with your backend and where that backend is and everything else. So you can make sure that all of that is still done with DI the way that you would normally do it from a foreground process, except you're now doing it in a background process where Prism isn't initialized, Xamarin Forms isn't initialized, because at this point right here where we initialize the Shiny host, none of this has been called, right? So we don't have any reference to Xamarin Essentials platform init or Xamarin Forms.init. None of that's been called. And because neither of these have been called, we cannot rely on the Xamarin Forms dependency the dependency service, because Xamarin Forms hasn't been initialized. And we can't rely on anything from Prism, because if we didn't initialize Xamarin Forms, we sure as hell didn't get to our application. So Prism isn't initialized. So this allows us now to really start thinking outside the box. And like I mentioned before, with WPF, it's very simple, where you can focus on like, hey, this is my platform. My single source of truth is the application, my Prism application. When it comes to mobile, though, it becomes a lot more complex, because we start looking at these ideas of, hey, we're backgrounding something, and what do we do when that happens? So, all right. So, let me see here. Any other question? Who else is on that has a question? I think there might have been a few people that just wanted to find out how to get a free ticket. But you understanding, Danny, hopefully? I mean, do let me know if you have a question. Hussein, that goes for you too, man. Rock Lane, I don't know if you're still on here, but definitely let me know if you're good. It's blocking you from sending messages. Uh-oh. I don't see an issue. You're not sending too many. I think you're sending just enough. Um, Twitch, gotta love them. Gotta love them. You know, long delays and then blocking people for sending messages. Ay, ay, ay. Hopefully, you're not being blocked by a bot. If you're being blocked by a bot, let me know. So, um, and Danny, I know you're on Prism Slack, so feel free to hit me on Prism Slack, and we can try to address the issue through that. Oops. Oops. Let's see. Screens are going crazy here. All right. Dan is manually moderating. I'm not. I'm really not moderating anyone. It's an open channel. Um, so I am trying to have some fun with people, make things a little bit more interesting than, you know, sit here and wait to see if you win the magical Twitch thing. But yeah, so it seems like you're doing all right with this. But yeah, so this just kind of, there is no perfect way. There may be other ways to kind of accomplish some of this that you may have an idea of. But this is generally what you would be looking at doing, right? Is you need something that has no dependency on Prism application, that's going to allow you to register the types that you need to register. And we now have a new source of truth for that container that we're going to be referencing from anywhere that we need to. So, we can create it here. Again, if we wanted to make this, I guess, a little bit better, some people may like it better. It does the same exact thing, but because you can only initialize the container extension one time. But you could do something like, you could say, so my instance equals, Prism.Container.Extension.Create. Does the same thing. I think this makes people feel better on account of it's not just referencing a static, but it's the same thing. Yeah, so that's basically it. I know we're not really running code, but the important thing for today's stream is not so much to run anything as much as it is just to kind of, give you a bit of an overview on the architectural, here's how to kind of set some of this stuff up. So I don't know if anybody else has any questions. This is going to be a shorter stream today, so unless there are more questions, I'm pretty much sure I think we've kind of covered what we wanted to cover today. So hopefully you guys got something good out of it. In fact, let me check the email here. So I think Danny was the only one that emailed me so far, which means that there would be one remaining ticket to Xamarin Developer Summit. Yep. So it looks like we have one remaining ticket. Okay, what happens to those instantiated services once the app starts up? Are they completely separate from the instances that Prism will start up? So there is actually one thing that, and I think you might have been on mute or something when I went over this. In the Prism application, there is there's a method that registers all of those required types. And so generally you would kind of override that, like if you're using like the normal Prism forms. I kind of locked that down in the extended version. So I'll make sure though, I'll have to go back and double check, but if not in this version, you'll be sure, like in the next version that I release, the next preview, that it'll only get registered one time. So if that register required types has already fired, like from your code, it won't fire a second time from Prism application. So we'll make sure that is taken care of. So that way you don't have like iEvent aggregator getting done twice. If we wanted to use anything in essentials from the services we register, could we just call essentials init in the application class? That is a fantastic question. I honestly don't know. That said, I would ask, what exactly is it that you want to use from the essentials? I was joking with Allan that really Shiny is essentials. Like, it is everything that essentials should have been from day one, because it uses dependency injection. It understands that things are more complex than just some static that you might need to use. I would imagine that there probably is something. I mean, we can take a look here. Xamarin Essentials, platform. Oops, not placemark. So if we come into platform, and so we say init. Yeah, so I actually can pass in the application. So what that means basically is, if I needed to, I can. Good grief! People, leave me alone. So you can initialize Xamarin Essentials here in the application rather than in your activity, and this will so if I do this, so now Xamarin Essentials is initialized, Shiny is initialized. I can now use Essentials within anything I'm doing from Shiny. That said, I would use what Shiny has. There are things that they just do better. Like Shiny has, what is it, iSettings, I think it is. And like the iSettings allows you to do like strongly typed things that, I mean, it works beautifully. It works a lot better. And then one of the other cool things, and here, I guess let me show you. It wasn't going to be something I showed you, but I'll show you anyway. So let's just say I have, public class, my settings, right? And I want to inherit from bindable base, right? And the only reason I want to do this from bindable base is because I'm lazy. And I don't want to have to implement iNotify property changed. That's basically it. So we'll say, come on, hello. Oh, for crying out loud, come on. So let me also bring in, I guess, while I'm doing this, a shiny dot. Is it infrastructure? I can't remember. Oh no, settings. So we'll bring in iSettings. So my settings. Come on. Where'd my mouse go? Why is it jumping around on me? I think someone has control of my computer. All right. So what I could do is I could actually do something stupidly simple. I could just say settings.bind and then pass in this. And now I'm done. And if I wanted to make sure that everything has a prefix on it, because I'm doing this with multiple settings classes, I could do something like, foo prefix. Okay. And now everything that it saves is going to get that foo prefix. So if I have two properties that are the same name, in two different classes that are using this, they won't overwrite each other. But because this is implementing notify property changed, I can monitor it, and settings can monitor it, and it'll make sure that everything gets set just the way that it should be, which is pretty cool. So you can kind of do things like, say private string, foo equals hello, right? And then we'll say public string foo and set property. Okay. Right. So now my foo property is always going, like, it'll have the default value of hello. But it'll make sure that everything gets done. Like, it's always bound to what has been set previously. So really cool little thing that Allan did there. Makes it a lot simpler. So you're not trying to figure out how to get and set everything. You just call bind and it's all done automatically. So yeah, so you don't really need, you wouldn't need the preferences, for example. Let's see here. In fact, let's take a look. Let's go take a look at Essentials, because I don't remember all the APIs that Essentials has. They do have a lot, I'm not gonna lie. Good grief. For as many times as I go to GitHub for Xamarin Essentials, you would think it would be like in the top drop down. I don't know what the hell is coming up. All right. All right, so the accelerometer. There's no reason to use the accelerometer from Xamarin Essentials because we already get it from Shiny. The battery, there's no reason to use it. Compass, connectivity, no reason to use them. I think Allan might actually have some stuff on the app information, device information. I can't remember. I think he might also have some stuff on the file system helpers. Geolocation and gyroscope we have. In fact, in addition to geolocation, you also have geofencing. You don't get geocoding though, which is kind of a bummer. I keep asking Allan for that. The magnometer, I believe we also get that from Shiny. The orientation, preferences, secure storage, text to speech. I think there's also a vibrate. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here, like a lot. Like, if you haven't gone over, like, Shiny org, Shiny is the repo on GitHub here. So I mean, you get Bluetooth. I know we was working on some stuff with like the current activity plugin because we thought there might be an issue there. There's some HTTP stuff, some .NET. Let's see. So yeah, so you can do HTTP transfers. What else we have? Man, like, I wish he was here because he would tell you all the stuff that he has. Like, I don't even know everything because he has too much, which is not a bad thing, really. Yeah, so you got like a proximity thing, a pedometer, motion sensor, magnetometer, gyroscope, compass, barometer, ambient light, accelerometer. And then if we come into core, where do we get? So you got caching, iFile system. Like, I honestly, I didn't even, okay. Yeah, so you have iFile system, so you can get the directory info on the app data cache and public folders, which I think is actually more than what you're ever going to get from Essentials. Let's see. Infrastructure. I love this last commit message from 6 days ago. Junk. That's awesome. Let's see here. iStartup task. So this is actually cool, right? So you have iStartup, which we kind of looked at, but then you also get iStartup task, which is really neat. So like, let's say that there's something that you need to make sure that you do every time that you start up. So this actually might be a better way, come to think of it. So let's look at iStartup task. Yeah. So the class implementing this interface supports. Okay. So yeah, so this actually I think would be even better than what we were kind of looking at before. So if we come in here and we say that we want the what is it? iStartup task. So we'll implement that. Maybe. Hello. Okay. And then, no, seriously, I want to implement it. iContainer extension. So this would, I think, would actually be a lot better than what we were looking at. So what I can do here is I can set this iStartup task, and I guess we can rename that later. But what we want to do in the start is we want to call register types. Okay. So now I can, I can make sure that this service stack is taken care of. And then we'll come back over here and services dot use. There's got to be a start thing here somewhere. No. This is why I love Allan's library, because he does have a lot of samples, or a pretty good sample, I should say. So let's come in here, maybe Bueller. And Shiny setup. Let's take a look at this here. So add singleton, a global exception handler. Yeah, and it looks like he actually does have an extension here for use Xamarin Forms Dependency Service. I think you're stupid for using it if you decide to, so don't do it. Just how I feel. I'm just being real. Okay. So register startup task. So we'll say service stack. Right. Come on. What do I need to bring in? Use Shiny. Okay. So that should be good. Why is it still giving me a squiggle? Okay. So now we can kind of go back to actually what we started with, right? We can say, so we had our Prism container extension. Current, I think it was. So now I have my Prism container extension that I'm passing into my app startup. In my app startup, I'm registering this startup task with my service stack and saying I want to use the GPS delegate. And so what that kind of gets me, right? So I have ifoo right here that is not registered in configure services. Now I could do it there. There's nothing stopping me from doing it right here. But maybe I don't really want to do it there. And so I can kind of come over here, and now in my service stack, it's going to resolve the container extension, and we're going to inject that, and now I can pass that when the start gets called from iStartup task. It's going to call register types and pass in the container that we injected, and now it will continue to register everything that we need. And then the next thing that we can do is, after that's called, I can come in here and I should be able, actually, I should theoretically. Well, hello, what is that? Umnutri? I'm like gonna butcher that one. Sorry, but hello in Melbourne. It's good to see that you guys are awake. So what you should be able to do theoretically is do something like iGPS manager. And now we should be able to say public iGPS manager. So we'll bring this in now. It's too bad that Alan's not here today to make fun of me and tell me I'm doing something wrong, but no, this is probably right. But what we should now be able to do, so we have our GPS manager that's in here, and we've registered our types. So we've called that in our start. So we make sure that everything has been registered that we potentially need. And now if we come in here, theoretically, we should be able to use the GPS manager and say, start. And we can have our GPS request real time. Okay. So, and this is, again, this is where it kind of goes back to what Danny was asking about. Oops. This is where it goes back to what Danny was asking about earlier with backgrounding, right? So we've initialized, well, here, let me come back here. So we've initialized Shiny, and we've passed in our container. We have made sure here that we have our startup is using the startup task with the service stack. And let's see here. So we've done that. Now it's going to come into our service stack. It'll call start. We register all of our remaining types, which includes, we made this call to register required types, which takes care of everything that Prism does. And then we're going to start our GPS listener. We're going to call the GPS request .realtime. And then we're going to pass in true to say that we want to use a background service. So now we're starting our background listener, and it's going to go ahead and resolve our delegate and do everything that we need to do. We're in the background, and this will be called even if our application is dead and the operating system wakes up our application and we've never hit xamarinforms.init, that's still going to be running and we're going to be good to go. So that is how all of that works. I hope that makes sense in an hour and 15 minutes or so. For those of you who have kind of joined late, I will make the announcement one more time. We have one more ticket available. So here's what you do in order to get the ticket. Is go to the Xamarin Developer Summit website, book your hotel. Oh, hey, human. So go to the Xamarin Developer Summit website, book your hotel, email me with your reservation number, and we're going to confirm it with the hotel. Make sure that you've got the hotel room, and once you've got the hotel room, we're going to give you a free ticket. So there's one more free ticket like that available. For anyone in the US as well, if you have a child that you would like to bring to the summit, email me that as well, and we've got a few extra tickets that I can give away to help encourage the next generation of mobile developers as well. So definitely let us know if you have a child that you would like to bring with you and kind of get them interested in developing mobile apps. So I always love encouraging kids to get into this. I love programming, and I can't think of a better thing for kids to want to do. So definitely let us know. I hope that answers like questions that you guys had. If anybody has something, I'll hang around for another minute or two and answer that. But otherwise, I think I've pretty much covered all the things that you need to do in order to kind of get this working and handle like the backgrounding and all that. Hey, you bet, Danny. You bet. We'll see you in just a few weeks there in Houston. Looking forward to it, bud. So, all right. I don't really see any other questions anyone else has. So, I am going to go ahead and cut it off. And we will see those of you who make it out to the summit. We will see you in a few weeks in Houston. And trust me, we have some amazing things in store for you. If you aren't able to take advantage of the free ticket offer today, but you still have an opportunity to get a ticket, make sure that you do. We have some absolutely phenomenal surprises in store for you. Some of these have been leaked. We did just announce today that my very, very good friend, Matthew Robbins, the creator and maintainer of Mfractor for VS Mac, he will actually be coming and he will be speaking on a subject that is near and dear to his heart and so many of ours. So definitely you don't want to miss this. This is going to be an amazing event. So I hope to see you guys there, and thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you next time. Hey, Dan here. Hope you enjoyed another wonderful episode. Be sure to hit subscribe and like so I can keep bringing you even more great content.